It starts with a silence so deep it feels like it swallows sound itself. Then comes a cold, a chill that has nothing to do with the actual temperature. This is Aokigahara Jukai, the Sea of Trees, nestled at the foot of Japan's sacred Mount Fuji. It's a place of stunning, almost bewildering beauty, yet it holds a darkness that seems to have seeped into the very volcanic soil. Compasses are said to spin wildly. Tech supposedly fails, and for decades, hundreds, maybe even thousands, have walked into its depths, never to be seen again. The real numbers? They're now a closely guarded secret, a whisper the authorities try to hush, much like the forest itself silences the world outside. But the question gnaws at us. What truly lurks here? What malevolent force, or what profound despair, soaks this ancient woodland, a place some whisper can push you to the very edge of sanity, and maybe even over it? Aokigahara. The name itself, Blue Tree Meadow, sounds peaceful, doesn't it? But it's more commonly known as Jukai, the Sea of Trees. And that's a fitting description for the 30 square kilometers of dense, rolling forest covering the northwestern side of Mount Fuji. This isn't your typical forest, born of soft earth and gentle hills. Oh no, Aokigahara thrives on a bed of hardened lava, the aftermath of a massive eruption of Mount Fuji way back in 864 CE. For over 1,000 years, life has stubbornly reclaimed this volcanic wasteland, its roots twisting through porous rock, creating a landscape that's both ancient and deeply unsettling. The ground here is a treacherous mess, uneven, pocked with hundreds of hidden caves and crevices. Some of these, like the Narusawa Ice Cave and Fugaku Wind Cave, are actually frozen all year round, drawing tourists to the forest's more accessible western edges. But if you venture deeper, stepping off those marked paths, that's when Aokigahara changes. The trees, a mix of types like Japanese cypress, northern Japanese hemlock, and Japanese red pine, grow so incredibly close together. Their needles and leaves tangle into an almost solid canopy, a suffocating blanket that blocks out not just the sun, but also the wind and, most unnervingly, sound. This is the first secret Aokigahara shares with anyone brave enough to enter. Its profound, almost unnatural quiet. The porous volcanic rock of the forest floor is said to just soak up sound, adding to an overwhelming feeling of being utterly alone. Wildlife is around. Asiatic black bears, deer, foxes, plenty of birds. But even they seem to move carefully, their sounds muffled by the dense growth and the sound-dampening earth. Many who've walked these twisting paths talk about this silence not as peaceful, but as heavy, oppressive, like a living thing pressing in from all sides, making your own heartbeat, your own anxious thoughts, deafeningly loud. It's a quiet that feels ancient, weighted, as if the forest itself is holding its breath, just waiting. This silence, it's the canvas for Aokigahara's much darker reputation. Because this isn't just any forest. It's a place tied inextricably to death, to sorrow, and to chilling folklore about spirits trapped in its shadowy depths. Its beauty is undeniable, a real testament to nature's power to bounce back. Yet, beneath that green cloak lies a history of human despair so deep it stained the very soil, earning it another, far more sinister name, the suicide forest. The forest's pull is a complicated mix of natural wonder and morbid curiosity, a place where the line between the sacred and the profane feels terrifyingly thin. It's this strange blend, this captivating horror, that pulls us into its story, a story that begins with whispers from a world just beyond our own. Long before Aokigahara hit the modern headlines for all the wrong reasons, its dense, dark pathways were already steeped in ancient Japanese folklore, tales of restless spirits known as Yūrei. The word Yūrei, yang, itself gives you a sense of something spectral and hidden. Yu means quiet or hidden, and rei is for spirit or soul. In Japanese tradition, Yūrei aren't just harmless ghosts. They're often the souls of people who died tragically, violently, or with powerful, unresolved emotions still clinging to them. Deep sorrow, burning anger, or a desperate need for vengeance. Things that stop them from finding peace in the afterlife. You usually picture them in white burial kimonos, with long, messy black hair, their forms sometimes hazy, their presence bone-chilling. Aokigahara, with its built-in gloom and profound isolation, has long been thought of as a natural gathering place for these kinds of spirits. Legends whisper that the forest itself acts like a magnet for souls stuck between worlds. Some of these tales might have their roots in the ancient, though often debated, practice of Ubasute, abandoning an old woman. The stories go that in times of terrible famine or hardship, families would lead their elderly or sick members into remote, desolate places like Aokigahara and leave them to die. It was a desperate way to have fewer mouths to feed. Now, solid historical proof for widespread Ubasute in Aokigahara is pretty thin, and many think it's more myth than actual history. But the stories have become part of the forest's identity, painting it as a place of deep despair and abandonment long before its modern link to suicide. The Yūrei of these abandoned souls are said to wander the sea of trees, their sorrow an almost tangible presence. And these Yūrei of Aokigahara? They aren't just passively haunting the place. Legends say they're active forces. Their unresolved pain supposedly shows itself in unsettling ways. It's said they whisper from the shadows, their voices carried on the still air, sometimes mournful cries, sometimes sinister invitations. They're believed to deliberately try and lure unsuspecting travelers off the marked paths, deeper and deeper into the disorienting maze of trees, where getting out becomes nearly impossible. Stories are common. Hikers feeling an unseen presence, a sudden, inexplicable wave of deep sadness or hopelessness washing over them, or just the creepy sensation of being watched by countless unseen eyes. Some tales even mention specific figures, like the woman in white, a recurring ghostly figure whose sudden appearance is both captivating and deeply unsettling. These Yūrei aren't always seen as purely evil. Their actions are often thought of as a reflection of their own endless suffering, a desperate attempt to share their pain, or maybe even to warn others away from a similar end. In broader Japanese culture, bumping into a Yūrei can be a stark reminder of how fleeting life is and the weight of unresolved human experiences. In Aokigahara, these encounters, real or imagined, just add to the forest's oppressive vibe, blurring the lines between what's natural and what's supernatural. Even the trees of Aokigahara sometimes get pulled into these legends. Ancient, gnarled, with roots that look like skeletal fingers clawing across the volcanic rock, some see them as more than just plants. Japanese spiritualists suggest that the sheer amount of sorrow and death that's happened in Aokigahara has seeped into the trees themselves, filling them with negative energy, a spiritual contamination that adds to the forest's paranormal activity and its power to ensnare those who enter. The trees become silent witnesses, their dense canopy not just blocking sunlight, but also trapping the despairing echoes of centuries. You can't underestimate the impact these Yūrei legends have on people who go into Aokigahara, especially if they're already in a fragile state of mind. The power of suggestion, cranked up by the forest's natural creepiness, the silence, the confusing terrain, the constant twilight under the canopy, can turn a simple walk into a terrifying experience. Every rustle of leaves, every weirdly shaped shadow, can feel like proof of something supernatural. The folklore of Aokigahara isn't just a bunch of old stories. It's an active psychological part of the forest, shaping how people see it, cranking up fear, and perhaps, for some, adding to that very real sense of being lost, both physically and mentally. These whispers of the lost are an undeniable part of Aokigahara's dark charm, a chilling opening act to the more tangible horrors the forest hides. While those chilling tales of Yūrei and ancient curses cast long, spooky shadows over Aokigahara, there's a more modern, statistically grim reality that has cemented its worldwide infamy. Moving from folklore to fact is a pretty bleak shift, because Aokigahara is, without a doubt, one of the world's most notorious spots for suicide. This tragic connection isn't new. It started taking hold in people's minds around the 1950s and 60s. Some point to Saicho Matsumoto's 1961 novel, Nami no 2, Tower of Waves, which features a tragic couple choosing the forest for their final act, as a key moment that popularized Aokigahara as such a place. But the forest's link to death was there even before the novel, suggesting it might have just amplified an existing, darker current. For decades, the numbers painted a horrifying picture. Reports often mentioned dozens, and in some years, over 100 people taking their own lives within the sea of trees. A grim record was hit in 2003 when 105 bodies were officially found, beating the 78 discovered in 2002. In 2010, police recorded 247 attempts, 54 of which ended in death. These figures, though, are probably underestimates. The forest's dense and tricky terrain means many might go unfound for years, if ever. The most common methods reported were hanging or drug overdose. Faced with this escalating tragedy and the unwanted reputation, Japanese authorities made a big decision. They stopped publicizing the official number of suicides in Aokigahara. This move, made in the early 2010s, was an attempt to de-glamorize the forest, to strip away its morbid allure, and to avoid sparking a Werther effect. That's when media coverage of suicide can actually lead to copycat incidents. Despite this official silence, more recent local reports from Yamanashi Prefecture, where Aokigahara is, show the problem is still alarmingly severe. One account mentioned that in 2022 and 2023, Yamanashi Prefecture had the highest number of suicides per 100,000 people among Japan's 47 prefectures, based on where bodies were found. It also indicated a rising trend in the forest. 182 suicides in both 2019 and 2020, 192 in 2021, 199 in 2022, and 215 in 2023. About 30% of these were people from outside the prefecture or of unknown address, really highlighting the forest's grim pull. In response to this ongoing crisis, various preventative measures are in place. Signs are posted at the forest's entrances and along trails, not with warnings of curses, but with messages of hope and pleas to reconsider. You'll see phrases like, "Your life is a precious gift from your parents," and "Please consult the police before you decide to die." These signs also list contact numbers for suicide prevention hotlines and support groups. Security cameras have even been installed at some entrances to keep an eye on who goes in and out. Beyond just signs, there are active patrols. Since 1970, police, local officials, and groups of volunteers have carried out annual, and now more frequent, searches through the woods. These patrols have two main goals: to find and respectfully recover the bodies of those who have died, and, crucially, to find and help individuals who might be in distress or thinking about suicide. These volunteers often talk about the grim things they find: abandoned tents, personal items, farewell notes, and the colored tapes or strings some people use to mark their path into the forest, a haunting sign of their hesitation, or maybe a fragile, desperate hope of being found or finding their way back. More recently, in late 2024, the Yamanashi prefectural government started a trial program using drones equipped with speakers and infrared cameras for night patrols. The idea is to find people at risk and guide them to safety, adding to the daytime foot patrols. The routes and schedules for these drones are kept secret to prevent anyone from trying to avoid them. The emotional and psychological toll on the local communities, the forest workers, police officers, and volunteers who regularly face this tragedy is huge. One local officer described the grim reality. "I've seen plenty of bodies that have been really badly decomposed or been picked at by wild animals. There's nothing beautiful about dying in there." Forest workers reportedly have the awful job of carrying bodies from deep in the woods to a local station, where a special room is set aside for the corpses. A disturbing local belief even claims that if a body is left alone in this room, its Yūrei will get agitated, scream through the night, and even move the body on its own. This has led to forest guards sometimes playing rock, paper, scissors to decide who has to stay with the deceased. The unspoken truth of Aokigahara is a heavy load to bear. It's a place where natural beauty is completely overshadowed by human despair, where the silence of the trees seems to echo with unspoken sorrow. While legends of ghosts provide a supernatural chill, the real-life statistics and the raw human tragedy they represent are far, far more disturbing. The forest stands as a somber monument to a complex societal problem, forcing us to confront the darkest depths of human suffering. The layers of Aokigahara are deep and, honestly, profoundly unsettling. a real mix of ancient myth and modern tragedy. If you're finding this dive into its dark heart as compelling as we do, let us know in the comments. Which part of this forest, the haunting legends, the stark reality, or that oppressive silence, gets to you the most? Your thoughts help us go even deeper. And if you want to keep exploring the world's most enigmatic and shadowed corners with us, think about subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Now, let's venture further into those disorienting depths and really question what's driving the madness of Aokigahara. That phrase, drives people mad. It's a stark and unsettling part of Aokigahara's chilling reputation, isn't it? Beyond the tragic reality of suicide and those ancient whispers of Yūrei, there's this persistent idea that the forest itself has an insidious way of affecting the minds of those who enter, to disorient, to confuse, and to push vulnerable people towards a terrifying abyss of despair. But what's really at the heart of this perceived madness? Is it purely supernatural, or are there tangible, environmental, and psychological factors all working together, creating a uniquely dangerous mental landscape? Well, the physical environment of Aokigahara is definitely a powerful player. The fact that it formed on a bed of hardened volcanic lava has created a terrain that's inherently disorienting. The forest floor is uneven, rocky, and full of hidden caves and sudden drops, making it treacherous even for seasoned hikers. The trees grow in this dense, almost chaotic way, with very few clear landmarks. It's incredibly easy to get lost, to lose your bearings just a short way off a marked trail. This physical disorientation can quickly spiral into mental distress, breeding panic and a profound sense of being utterly alone. Then there's the much talked about issue of magnetic anomalies. For years, rumors have swirled that compasses go haywire in Aokigahara, spinning wildly or pointing away from true north, supposedly useless because of rich deposits of magnetic iron in the volcanic soil. Now, some official sources and experienced trekkers say that compasses generally work fine if you hold them at the proper height, and that the anomalies are more pronounced if a compass is placed right on the lava rocks, which have their own natural magnetism. But the belief in these widespread anomalies is powerful. If you go into the forest expecting to be disoriented, expecting your navigation tools to fail, that expectation can crank up feelings of confusion and helplessness. The very idea that the earth beneath your feet is actively trying to mislead you, that's a deeply unsettling thought. Some researchers have even tentatively suggested that such geomagnetic disturbances, if they're significant, might have subtle, little understood effects on mood or thinking, especially in people already prone to psychological distress. Though this is still highly speculative. That oppressive, unnatural silence of Aokigahara is another huge piece of the puzzle. As we've mentioned, the dense tree canopy and porous lava rock absorb sound to an extraordinary degree. This lack of auditory stimuli, this absence of the usual forest sounds, wind, birdsong, rustling animals, can have a profound psychological impact. It's almost like sensory deprivation, and in that state, the mind can start to play tricks. Internal anxieties, normally kept in check by external sounds, can become magnified, echoing unervingly in the vacuum of silence. Some visitors report hearing faint whispers, screams, or unsettling noises that seem to have no clear source. These could be the mind trying to fill the void, or perhaps, as the legends suggest, something more. This profound quiet strips away all external distractions, forcing an intense, often uncomfortable, look inward. Psychological theories also offer some explanations for Aokigahara's grim attraction and its perceived effect on sanity. The power of suggestion, or what you might call a negative placebo, is immense. The forest's global reputation as the suicide forest precedes it. People who enter, especially those already battling depression or suicidal thoughts, might find the environment tragically validating their despair. The somber atmosphere, the abandoned belongings, the warning signs, it can all contribute to a self-fulfilling prophecy, making the forest feel like a place where such thoughts are not only allowed, but almost expected. The Werther effect, or copycat suicide, is another well-documented phenomenon that likely plays a role here. The notoriety of Aokigahara, amplified by media portrayals, even those trying to be sensitive, and books like Wataru Tsurumi's controversial 1993, The Complete Manual of Suicide, which explicitly called Aokigahara a perfect place to die, can draw individuals who identify with the despair linked to the location. Finding that manual among the belongings of those who have died, there is a grim testament to its influence. You could also see Aokigahara as a liminal space, a threshold, a place that's neither here nor there, caught in between. Its wild, untamed nature, so close to the highly ordered society of Japan, its association with both life, the vibrant forest, and death, can create a psychological space where the normal rules and anchors of reality feel loosened. For someone already teetering on the edge, such a space can be incredibly dangerous. A particularly chilling aspect that's been documented is psychogenic amnesia among some who've attempted suicide in the forest and survived. This profound memory loss, not caused by physical injury, suggests a level of psychological trauma so intense that the mind effectively shuts down, erasing the experience. It really hints at the extreme distress and mental anguish the forest can witness, or perhaps even worsen. And then there's the sheer, unadulterated isolation you can experience in Aokigahara. Once you're off the main trails, the chances of seeing another person plummet. For someone in crisis, this isolation can be terminal. There's no one to interrupt a devastating train of thought, no one to offer a helping hand or a word of comfort. The forest becomes an echo chamber for one's darkest impulses. The difficulty of rescue operations, given the terrain and the vastness of the area, further adds to this sense of finality. So what really drives the madness? It seems to be a chilling combination of factors: a physically disorienting and treacherous landscape, a silence that unnerves and isolates, a powerful and pervasive reputation that attracts despair, the influence of legends that prey on primal fears, and the profound psychological impact of isolation and sensory deprivation. Aokigahara doesn't necessarily create madness from scratch, but for those already burdened with sorrow or teetering on the brink, it can become a terrifying amplifier, a place where the whispers of the Yūrei and the silent scream of one's own mind become indistinguishable. Aokigahara's ominous reputation has, unsurprisingly, seeped far beyond its tangled roots and rocky paths, casting a long shadow across popular culture, both in Japan and around the world. This cultural footprint is complicated. It often sensationalizes the tragic aspects while, at the same time, reflecting a morbid fascination with such a profoundly sorrowful place. Films, especially in the horror genre like the 2016 American movie The Forest, have exploited its eerie atmosphere and legends of Yūrei, painting it as a supernaturally evil entity. While these movies aim for scares, they also feed a global perception that can be pretty detached from the real human suffering involved and from the forest's genuine natural beauty. Japanese media, too, has explored Aokigahara in various ways, from novels like Matsumoto's Tower of Waves and Tsurumi's The Complete Manual of Suicide, to documentaries and news reports that try to grapple with its ongoing tragedy. These portrayals, whether fictional or factual, have undeniably boosted its notoriety, making Aokigahara and suicide forest almost interchangeable terms in the global vocabulary. It's interesting, though we need to be really careful here, to see how Aokigahara might have influenced fictional portrayals of cursed or disorienting woodlands. For example, their essay comparison to the Lost Woods in Nintendo's The Legend of Zelda video game series. Research Highlight 8. Both are shown as dense maze-like forests where it's easy to get lost, and both are wrapped in an aura of mystery and the supernatural. Aokigahara with its Yūrei and deep despair, the Lost Woods with its own enigmatic inhabitants and the threat of becoming lost forever or transformed. Research Highlight 1, 4, 8. However, this is where we have to draw a very clear line. Aokigahara's reputation is rooted in devastating real-world tragedy and deeply ingrained cultural beliefs about life, death, and the afterlife. Research Highlight 6, 8. The consequences within its depths are irreversible and profoundly human. The Lost Woods, on the other hand, is a fantasy creation designed for player challenge and intrigue within a fictional world where the consequences are part of a game. Research Highlight 4, 8. The comparison mainly shows how a real place, so burdened with sorrow, can echo in our creative imagination, but it must never, ever diminish the sheer gravity of Aokigahara's reality. This global infamy has led to the complex and ethically tricky phenomenon of dark tourism in Aokigahara. Drawn by its macabre reputation, some visitors come not for the scenic trails or the natural beauty of Mount Fuji's foothills, but for a morbid curiosity, a desire to glimpse the suicide forest. This creates a really tough ethical problem. How do you manage a site of such incredible natural beauty that is also a place of immense sorrow and ongoing tragedy? Locals have reportedly become pretty good at spotting three types of visitors: genuine trekkers interested in nature, the morbidly curious looking for a thrill, and those tragic souls who don't intend to leave. The presence of that second group, in particular, can feel deeply disrespectful to the memory of those who have died and to the ongoing efforts to prevent more loss of life. The Logan Paul incident in 2017, where the YouTuber filmed and broadcast a deceased person's body, sparked worldwide outrage and really highlighted the worst aspects of this insensitivity, leading to increased precautions and governmental scrutiny. There's an ongoing debate in Japan about how to manage Aokigahara's identity. Efforts are being made to promote its natural aspects: the unique geological formations, the lava caves, the diverse plants and animals, and its status as part of the Fuji-Hikone-Aizu National Park. Some are pushing to reclaim its name, to emphasize Jukai, Sea of Trees, over Suicide Forest, to allow its ethereal beauty to be seen without the immediate, overshadowing stigma of death. Conservationists work to preserve its delicate ecosystem. Yet, the darkness is an undeniable part of its modern story. The forest has become a potent symbol, embodying a tragic meeting point of natural wonder, ancient folklore, and acute human suffering. It reflects broader societal issues within Japan, including historically complex attitudes towards suicide, mental health awareness, and the pressures of modern life. While suicide was historically viewed in some contexts, like the samurai code of seppuku, as an honorable death, modern suicide is largely seen as a tragedy, though perhaps with less religious stigma than in some Western cultures. Japan has battled high suicide rates for decades, often linked to economic downturns, societal pressures, and, more recently, the stresses of the COVID-19 pandemic. The government has put national suicide prevention strategies in place, aiming to significantly reduce these rates. So, Aokigahara is more than just a cursed forest. It's a mirror reflecting cultural anxieties, a site of profound ecological interest, and a place that demands deep respect and solemn thought. Its echoes in culture are a testament to its power, but also a reminder of the responsibility that comes with telling its story, a story that is far from over. Aokigahara Jukai, the Sea of Trees, the Cursed Forest, the Suicide Forest. It goes by many names, and each one reveals another layer of its complex and sorrowful identity. Born from the fiery chaos of Mount Fuji's ancient eruption, it stands as a primeval wilderness, a place of stark, volcanic beauty, where the earth itself seems to breathe a cold, deep stillness. Its trees, packed tightly together, reach for the sky, their roots gripping a land soaked in both natural wonder and an almost unspeakable sadness. We've journeyed, in a way, through its shaded, disorienting paths. We've explored the chilling folklore of the Yūrei, those vengeful or sorrowful spirits said to haunt its depths, luring the unwary and echoing the despair of ages gone by. We've faced the grim, measurable reality of its reputation as a site of countless suicides, a truth that has led authorities to draw a veil of silence over the numbers. Even as they fight to prevent more tragedies with patrol signs of hope, and now even drones in the night. We've asked ourselves, what is it about this particular forest that seems to amplify darkness, to perhaps even push people to the edge of madness? Is it the magnetic quirks, the oppressive silence that breeds unease, the maze-like terrain that ensures you're truly lost, or the sheer weight of its reputation? A self-fulfilling prophecy of despair? The answer, it seems, lies in a chilling mix of all these things, a perfect storm of natural phenomena, psychological triggers, and deeply ingrained cultural stories. Aokigahara endures, a vast, silent watchman at the foot of a sacred mountain. It holds its secrets close, locked within the gnarled wood of its ancient trees and the cold, porous lava beneath. The forest doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, it presents a profound and disturbing mystery, a place where the veil between our tangible world and something far older, far darker, feels terrifyingly thin. Are the chilling whispers and unseen presences just figments of an overactive imagination, fueled by fear and folklore? Or does the immense weight of human suffering, concentrated in one spot, leave an indelible psychic scar upon the land itself, an echo that resonates with those sensitive enough or vulnerable enough to hear it? The darkness of Aokigahara isn't just in its shaded groves or its tragic statistics. It's in the unanswered questions it forces us to confront about the human mind, about despair, and about our relationship with places that seem to embody the more shadowed parts of our existence. It is a somber reminder of how fragile life can be, of the hidden battles many fight, and the quiet desperation that can lead someone to seek solace in such a final, lonely place. To explore Aokigahara, even through a story like this, is to tread on sacred, sorrowful ground. It demands respect, not sensationalism. It calls for us to remember the individual human stories, the lives lost, the grief that lingers far beyond the forest's edge. The lingering silence of Aokigahara is its most profound statement, a silence filled with unspoken stories, unanswered questions, and an enduring, chilling enigma that continues to haunt the human imagination. It stands as a testament to nature's beauty, but also as a stark, green monument to its darkest secrets. Aokigahara's story is a heavy one, a journey through natural forces, ancient legends, and the deepest of human sorrows. It reminds us of the struggles often unseen and the enduring mysteries that lie just beyond our everyday view. If this passage into the Sea of Trees has resonated with you, if it's made you think about the complexities of such places, please consider liking this video and sharing it with others who appreciate in-depth explorations of the enigmatic. Subscribe to our channel for more content that ventures into the shadows, explores the unexplained, and seeks to understand the world's most compelling mysteries. Click that notification bell so you don't miss our future journeys. Thank you for joining us on this unsettling passage through Aokigahara. Stay curious, reflect on what you've heard, and above all, stay safe.